Hi guys, welcome to the pronunciation channel. My name is Mike Tatanen. Today I want to talk to you about three things: intelligibility, comprehensibility, and accentedness. So these three things refer to different aspects of a person's pronunciation. Intelligibility refers to the ability of another person to understand you. Comprehensibility refers to the degree of effort that somebody needs in order to understand you. And accentedness just simply refers to the extent to which your accent is different from that of native speakers of a particular regional dialect. Basically, the most important thing for a non-native speaker to try to attain in their accent is a high degree of intelligibility. People should understand you. It's much more important for somebody to understand you than for you to say it 100% correctly. The second most important thing for you to try to attain in your pronunciation is a high degree of comprehensibility. And that means it shouldn't be too difficult in terms of the amount of effort that is required for somebody to understand what you're saying because of your pronunciation. Definitely the least important aspect of your pronunciation is accentedness. And that just means having a strong accent which is different from that of native speakers of a particular dialect. Everybody has an accent. I've got a Canadian English accent, so having an accent is something that absolutely everybody has. And it's important to realize that there's been a lot of research into the effect of age on second language learning and accentedness, particularly for how successful people can be in learning a foreign accent. So almost all of the research shows that very young learners, particularly those learners that move to a particular country before age 7 or so, will develop the same accent as people who are monolingual in that country and only speak one language, the native language of, or the dominant language of that country. So for example, I wasn't born in Canada. For the first few years of my life, I didn't speak English, but I moved to Canada when I was 5, and English is now my adopted native language. But my language skills in terms of pronunciation and everything else is indistinguishable from those Canadians that only speak English and were born in Canada. However, the older you get, the harder it is to learn another language, particularly its pronunciation. So after age, depending on the person, after age 7, 8, and so forth, most people will not develop a completely native accent. But there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has an accent. So you can't get away from not having an accent. You can have an accent in one language. I have a Canadian English accent. If I speak in Finnish, the other language that I know to some extent, I will have an English accent to some extent. So it's not realistic for particularly an adult to hope to have an accent that doesn't have any trace of knowledge of another language. Almost all of the research shows that people who move to, let's say, an English-speaking country after puberty, after age 13 or 14, will have a noticeable accent from another language. So it's simply not realistic for a person to think that, oh, I want to get rid of my accent. It's not possible, okay? in almost all cases it's not possible. But it really shouldn't matter, because people can still understand you even if you have a thick accent in many cases. What a learner should try to improve is their intelligibility. They should work on that aspect of their accent that allows people to understand them. If somebody has trouble understanding you, then you really should work on your pronunciation. And the other aspect of their pronunciation, like I said, that they should focus on is on their comprehensibility, the degree of effort that's required for somebody to understand you. So if you have poor comprehensibility, people may need to focus when you speak sometimes. And that is often related to things such as suprasegmental features, which refers to intonation, rhythm, and which syllables are stressed in words. It also is relevant for segmentals, which are consonants and vowels, but what's particularly important for segmentals is pronouncing the beginnings of words correctly. So if I were to say coffee with an H and say hoffy, that might be really problematic for somebody. But if I were to say copy rather than coffee, that would still be problematic, but not quite possibly as problematic. Okay, so those are my observations based on my studies and my experience. So don't give up by any means trying to improve your pronunciation, but be realistic. People are constrained by biology and by their age. After a certain age, it's virtually impossible to sound like a native speaker of another language. But that shouldn't really matter. Maybe not the vast majority, but maybe the majority of people in the world, they're bilingual or sometimes even trilingual. They speak other languages. And it's perfectly normal to, in your second or third language, to betray knowledge of another language when you're speaking. What you should focus on is your intelligibility and your comprehensibility. Okay, that's all for now. Keep practicing.